Hello and welcome to Big Dash Knows. Big Dash knows what? New York Giants football. Let's go. Listen, I'm not trying to hear anything about Wink Martindale being fired. I'm not trying to hear anything about him being the scapegoat. I'm not trying to hear any kind of slander when it comes to Wink Martindale. In my opinion, Wink Martindale is the best coach that we have on the staff right now, and that's including Brian Daboll. That's including the head coach. So when we hear these rumors talking about the coordinators might be fired, plural, the coordinators might be fired, they better be talking about first the special teams coordinator. And if you want to throw Mike Kafka in there too, then, you know, so be it. But Wink Martindale, leave Wink Martindale alone. Now, I've gone back and forth for a few days with a couple of people talking about how important Mike Kafka should be to the future of this franchise. And I've argued with people. And, you know, after 2 days, you know, they kind of won me back with some good arguments about, you know, if the New York Giants, in fact, draft a new rookie quarterback, who better than Brian Daboll and Mike Kafka to mold that young quarterback? And when you make that argument, it makes a lot of sense. So I fell back a little bit. Because, you know, I was questioning Mike Kafka, not just this season. There was some play calling last year that I didn't like with when it came to Mike Kafka. But you let a lot of things slide, especially when you win your first playoff game, and that playoff game win looked so fantastic. It did. But everything fell apart this year, and you're right back to what have you done for me lately? And when you're thinking about what has Mike Kafka done for the New York Giants lately, and it's not all his fault, it does not look good. But here's the thing, and that's one of my favorite phrases. Here's the thing, because I like to bring things all the way back full circle. If you are going to draft a quarterback, that is a fantastic team to have in Brian Daboll and the creativity of Mike Kafka. I will give you guys that argument. Absolutely. But I still will say this. I'm not crying over Mike Kafka. I will not cry over Mike Kafka. And just think about, as someone like Mike Kafka, calling plays, had some success, was on the head coaching carousel as far as being interviewed for, you know, for possible coaching, as a possible coaching candidate, head coaching candidate. And you go from being that hot name, that hot commodity, to being a guy that got the play calling taken away from him at occasion, in a few different occasions. And I don't want to argue with people. There's no way that you can tell me that Brian Daboll did not take play calling away from Mike Kafka a few times in a few games this season. You really never see Brian Daboll with a play sheet, talking into the headset and stuff like that. You rarely see that. But there were some occasions where this man had the play sheet in front of his face, covering his mouth, and calling those plays. You cannot tell me anything different. I saw with my own eyes. I know what play calling looks like. No matter how much they deny it, I know what play calling looks like. And if you want to say, okay, yeah, I was just discussing that with Mike Kafka is still the one calling the plays, and the head coach is like, yeah, okay, yeah, I like this. I don't like. No, you were calling plays, sir. You had all the verbiage going. That's calling plays. But let me get back to it again. So when you're Mike Kafka, and again, when you're that hot commodity, it's disrespectful. How do you get your respect back once play calling has been taken away from you? And because of that, I'm assuming that Mike Kafka is gone. I think Mike Kafka will be gone. And it sucks, but it is what it is, because again, as a man, you got to be respected, especially when you're doing your job. You can't do that back and forth thing. And then you hear reports, or there was a report of reports of Mike Kafka's, you know, inner circle talking about, yeah, he won't be back in 2024. And again, it sucks, but I understand his point of view. And again, when it comes to the New York Giants, I'm not shedding tears for Mike Kafka, but I do understand what he has the ability to do if we go ahead and draft that quarterback like we should do in the 2024 season. So that's my thoughts on Mike Kafka. But again, when it comes to that special teams coach, he can go. Special teams hasn't been good for a long time. This man was here when Sherman was here. And if I'm not mistaken, so that's 3 regimes. He survived 3 regimes, and our special teams has been awful for the past, what, six years? Even before that, possibly. So there's no way that Thomas McGaughey survives, you know, and is still the coach in 2024. Another move that has to be made is the offensive line coach, Bobby Johnson. That is Brian Daboll's right-hand man. but your right-hand man is not doing a damn thing as far as making this team productive. These players that we have, they're not the greatest. They're not the most talented group. We understand that. But the mistakes that these guys make week in and week out, and they're not getting any better, or at least we can't see, like he says, some things you can't see. Yeah, well, we need to be able to see these guys be better. And we're not seeing that on a week-to-week basis. What we are seeing is constant regression and a lot of mistakes being made on a week-to-week basis. And we cannot have that. Do we need to change the scheme up? You know, do we need to figure out what works best for these players individually as far as their skill sets, make them comfortable so they're able to, you know, play at the top of their ability? That's something that we need to find out. And there should be some names available. And shout out to my man Monty, because he mentioned it in a tweet today. He said if the Cleveland Browns happen to move off of Stefanski this year, you know, that means a guy like Bill Callahan is available or might be available. And to me, my spidey senses are tingling just by hearing the name Bill Callahan and possibly getting that man over here. That's a no-brainer in my opinion. That's probably the best coach, the best offensive line coach we've seen in the NFL. And that's saying a lot, because there's been a bunch of great offensive line coaches, and he's one of those guys. And if you can get him here, I think you give a lot of people some extra time. A guy like Evan Neal, instead of moving him right to guard, like a lot of people are saying, maybe he can survive on the outside if he has some of the tutelage of Bill Callahan. Or maybe Bill Callahan can look at him and say, yeah, we got to move him inside. But when it's coming from a guy like Bill Callahan, you have to accept what that man is saying. So if that becomes a possibility, then absolutely, that's one of those guys that you throw a lot of money at to get him here. Maybe you increase his title a little bit. Maybe he becomes, you know, assistant head coach and offensive line coach, or if he's going to be the running game coordinator, whatever you want to do, bump up his title, bump up his pay, and get a guy like Callahan in here. That's what the New York Giants need to do. I don't want to talk about, or I don't want to keep talking about drafting these top offensive linemen. First, second round offensive linemen. Second round most likely, but another, Alt? We're talking about Alt from Notre Dame? I don't want him here so Bobby Johnson can ruin him. You know what I mean? I don't want to see that guy be a top talent and regress, just like Evan Neal was a top talent and we're seeing him regress. And then you want to say, okay, well, Andrew Thomas had his best year under Bobby Johnson. I'll say this. That was already in the making before Bobby Johnson got here. We'll talk about John Michael Schmitz, how he looks pretty good. John Michael Schmitz was well seasoned before he got drafted. So for every example that you can check a box for in the positive for Bobby Johnson, I can check 2 boxes in the negative for Bobby Johnson. So I'm not trying to hear that at all either. But just seeing this report, not really sure how true it is. But when there's smoke, where there's smoke, there's fire. And and I can understand completely why Mike Kafka would want to be out of here. It's a lose-lose in this situation for him if we do not draft a quarterback and we keep Daniel Jones. It's a lose-lose for Mike Kafka, and his name starts getting colder and colder. You become a hot name, lukewarm, and then you're cold again, and the next thing you know, he's coaching quarterbacks again. Not even an OC, he's coaching quarterbacks again, and he's trying to work his way back up to another spot where he can get a head coaching opportunity. But that's what it is. That's the NFL. That's what happens when you're losing. Last year, when the New York Giants are turned around and winning, he's a hot name. Brian Daboll's the coach of the year. Wink Martindale is doing Wink Martindale things. But when you're in a down year and you look awful, now we're talking about firing both the OC and the DC, and I don't agree with that at all, especially when it comes to Wink Martindale. Wink Martindale has the best of Dexter Lawrence that we've seen. He has Bobby Okereke and Micah McFadden playing at a high level. He has a rookie in Tay Banks looking like one of the best rookie cornerbacks that came out in this draft. And what else can I say? You know, leave Wink Martindale alone. Leave his name out of your mouth. Leave him alone. To me, I feel like he's untouchable, right? At least in the third year. He needs to be here for 2024. And whoever we add to this defense, Wink Martindale needs to be a part of that. Absolutely. And if you make him the scapegoat, a lot of people are going to be upset about that situation. All right. So that's going to be my video, just talking about the rumors of offensive coordinators possibly being fired, leaving, resigning, all that good stuff. Let me know how you guys feel in the comments down below. I can't wait to read those comments to see what the temperature in the room is. But I want to thank everybody for vibing with me. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And from one Giants fan to another, this is Big Dash Knows, Big Blue Nation. Let's go.